I know people say there was a shortage of venues now. There was also a shortage of venues back then as well. There seems to be, in retrospect, quite a few, but the complaint at the time was there was hardly ever anywhere to play.
Having not many places to play.
Being banned from Valve. No, but the only band I've been banned from is Valve, like entirely.
You basically did gigs where you could find them. You know, Thistle Hall was, of course, the first time that was used for a punk gig. I think it was about August '79 when the Wall Sockets hired it out and got a couple of other bands and put on a gig.
It was a very important time, like Ross said to me and stuff. I kind of didn't think about it. He said it was very important at the time because it was the only venue around at the time that wasn't a business and wasn't a pub. So it was all ages and it was underground.
Putting on all ages hardcore shows is one of the most thankless jobs you can possibly imagine. It's a lot of stress and a lot of work, and when it goes well it's amazing, but it'll go well once out of every 3 times or something like that.
There wasn't a lot of directly political stuff. I mean, I think the only really sort of political band out of the early ones was probably Riot 111, and that was a response to a specific issue. I mean, they came about because of the Springbok tour in '81, and putting up, you know, they did a record that was like an anti-tour kind of protest, and that's sort of really where it started from, really.
The Wellington scene at that time, there was that political and social change. And like my zine was like a concerted attempt to politicise the punk scene, especially influenced by anarchist politics.
I was involved in other things in Wellington during this period, which were almost entirely to do with anarchist politics. I have a very strong opinion about anarchist politics and punk rock, and a lot of people totally disagree with me, but as far as I'm concerned, anarchist politics has to be inclusive. It has to build, it has to appeal to society at large, because otherwise what the hell's the point? You know, you can't change society with 5 of you talking after a hardcore show.
I just loved the music. It was like, you know, and I didn't want to drag lots of other stuff into what I was into. I just loved the punk look, and I loved the music.
I was drawn to bands like Smut because I saw people who had a really good time but still were able to be serious about the messages they were trying to put across and how they lived their life.
Post Muldoonism, post the 1981 Springbok tour, pushes in Parliament for anti-nuclear legislation, pushes in Parliament for homosexual law reform bill. So lots of those sort of crass issues and nuclear disarmament and things like that were quite mainstream. They were being pushed by the Labour Party, and it was that whole punk rock and narco thing of latching on to the hard work of other people and letting them organise the protest rallies and then just going along with your black flag at the end.
That's not to say that punks shouldn't be involved in anarchist politics. Of course they should. But it's just that anarchist politics should be very careful not to be seen as being a punk rock thing, because if it is, then people who aren't interested in punk rock are going to be, by default, not interested in anarchism.
Seeing those people like Simone from Smut and that who were very active, and seeing that was part of their lifestyle. It wasn't just getting up and singing in a band and singing about these things, it was actually getting out there and trying to do something about it as well.
Things like demonstrations or doing magazines or something like that is just a natural progression. You know, if you have these ideas, you might as well do something about it.
Stop uranium mining! Stop uranium mining! Stop uranium mining on every
we put a kid down. Yeah, we'll just leave these two. I know, but I don't want to be
Hey, you get your fucking hands off her! Hey! Leave her alone! You couldn't leave any quicker!
Everyone identified themselves as part of a scene, I think. Well, I got that feeling in any case, and it was like you're either with us or against us, and you had to be like that because there weren't that many of you.
One of the interesting things to me about punk and hardcore was that there was a real scene based around the music and around shared ideals. And I've become very cynical about those, but at the same time that definitely was what attracted me to the music in the first place, well, apart from the music itself.
You take people who want to play loud, raucous music that rocks and they want to do it themselves, and you're going to come up with a pretty similar ethos like the world over, you know. That's what it's about.
About the punk scene is that, yeah, you get to be very trustworthy, communal with gear and stuff and all that kind of thing.
There was a unity in the Wellington punk scene, which, and still is, I think, which didn't really exist anywhere else in the country. In Hamilton and Auckland, which are the main other cities, the hardcore kids were hardcore kids and the punks were punks, and they just never spent any time around each other, and I always thought that was really sad.
The thing I like about punk rock, I guess, is the interaction between band and audience. You know, the audience is sometimes on the stage or yelling shit at you and things like that, and you're yelling back at them. There's a lot of interaction. It makes the gigs really fun.
The New Zealand punk thing of, you know, wanted to support local bands and stuff. For me, like, the punk politics was more tied up with having your mates up on stage or supporting people you know, or anybody could get up and do it, rather than feeling like some sort of inferior New Zealand cousin that had to, you know, was wishing that we had a scene like London's, or, you know, wouldn't it be great to shift to New York?